Welcome to another Robots episode. In this video, we will talk about industrial robots and collaborative robots. We will try to lay out their pros and cons as clear as possible, and also where do they fit and what is their purpose. So let's start with this example. Both of these robots are KUKA brand, and the left one is industrial. As you can see, no one's interacting with the left one, because if you did, probably it will break your hand. And on the right, as you can see, if you touch the robot, it stops. Let's begin explaining what is a cobot. A cobot, or collaborative robot, according to Wikipedia, is a robot intended for direct human-robot interaction within a shared space, or where humans and robots are in close proximity. As Wikipedia states, the biggest and main difference between traditional industrial robots is that these robots are not isolated. Usually, these robots have a closed working space area, and they are delimited by a fence. These working areas are usually called robotic cells. The fence is usually a physical barrier, but in the entrances sometimes they use light barriers. They are similar to the ones you might see in elevators or lifts if you're in the UK. Now, these industrial robots might seem that they need a lot of security because they are dangerous, but cobot safety also means that it needs some regulations. Usually it means that construction materials have to be light, or the edges have to be rounded, or even the inherent limitation of speed and force. Usually these limitations are enforced by sensors and software. If you're interested in the history of the collaborative robots, you can head here in the Wikipedia page and see that it started a research with KUKA, one of the biggest industrial robot brands. But in my opinion, the one that opened this new area was Universal Robots. If you heard about collaborative robots, then you've definitely heard about Universal Robots, because they were, in my opinion, the first to pioneer this new technology. As you can see here, Universal Robots was the market leader in 2019, and for now they still are. But in my opinion, I think they soon might be overtaken by Chinese collaborative robots. And about these standard guidelines, well, it's a bit difficult because it's a new technology, so right now it's a bit of a gray area. They're still talking and regulating these safety standards. Now, let's talk about the pros of cobots. As you may know, some of the benefits are that they're compact, easy to install and program, very flexible, they're mobile. You can even use autonomous mobile platforms. They're also consistent and precise like industrial robots. And it can reduce the production costs, because you might add a collaborative robot somewhere where you could not add an industrial robot. Here we have a very good table of pros and cons to compare the cobots and industrial robots. For example, cobots. What are their advantages? Well, it's safer to use, and it needs LED space, no robotic cell, and it can share the workspace with humans. It can be more flexible. You can move the cobot from one place to another, or even implement an AGV or AMR, and it can be autonomous. You can program it and do tasks repetitively, like in a lab, take some vials from one place to another, and then it's easy to install, it's easy to program and integrate, it's cost effective, very fast ROI. You can get the return of the investment very fast because of the low cost and easy integration. You can start automating things when normally a human would be doing those type of jobs, and it can help you increase your quality control, the productivity, and scale your business. And then cons. Well, as you may know, there have to be some safety standards, so they are slower. We talked about this before. They're normally regulated and software limited, and you might need a safety radar if you want to increase the speed and maybe create some areas where if you walk into some area, it starts going slower, but that increases the price. Then they have low payloads. It's difficult to move heavy objects because they're not designed right now. They're incremented the sizes of the collaborative robots. Here, as you can see, Universal Robots just launched UR20. Now, the third is they're not designed for line of production. They're designed for low volumes, not really for the same repetitive tasks. They are not substitutes for industrial robots. That's where people tending to fall into the idea that you can avoid safety cells or mechanisms and put a collaborative robot instead of like an industrial robot. But that's not the case. So not really a substitute for industrial robots. It's more for a niche type of area where you want to like start automating or increase the automation. Another point about collaborative robots is that it needs safety approval, and sometimes it might be a bit difficult because you might think the robot is collaborative, but the actual application might not be collaborative. If you have like a knife in the end of the robot, then it's not collaborative. You can slice people up and cut very deep, and also heavy objects. Well, the inertia can also knock someone out. So the new regulation states that if the collaborative robot works above the chest, it should work very slowly. And it's not a collaborative application unless probably a radar or some other safety requirements, sensors, etc. Also, even if they're easy to program and integrate, you might also need some assistance or supervision because since the tasks are very limited and low volume, you might need to like keep redoing the same programming task. You might have not taken into account all of the variables. And lastly, also it might need fencing. Like I said, you might use a radar or some fencing, so when like when a person comes into contact or like invades the space of the working area, it travels slower or even stops the robot. And then, now advantages of industrial robots are efficient and independent. Once you automate something and you can fully automate it and you can forget about it, they work very, very fast. They can be implemented in like risky tasks, toxic areas like painting or explosive areas, and then also for unsafe or unclean places. And they are a lot faster, and that's why they're used in production lines. And also it has a much higher ROI, but the return of the investment takes a long time because the investment is also much higher because you need a robotic cell, fencing, safety equipment, and the robots also are more expensive, although it also takes into account that you can get bigger robots, payload. And cons, well, you wouldn't get an industrial robot for a low volume production line. As we just said, the cost is very high. The base cost of the robot plus the working cell and the tools, everything you need to like engineer, because probably it will be self-tailored to your needs unless it's like palletizing or something that is a bit more standard. And then you might need to change your actual process line, so you might need to stop your production line and then create and design the cell and then restart your factory. So this is one of the advantages of the collaborative robots, really, because they're flexible and you can put it into the process line. As we said before, it needs a working area that's limited, and then the additional cost of design changes because you might need a spec programmer, you might need to change the tools, and well, everything is just additional cost, really. Whereas like in a collaborative robot, you might be able to do it in-house if any engineer has some knowledge about like programming, like basic like software engineering programming and a bit of like robotics. Then they might be able to change by themselves the workplace. That's one of the advantages, the flexibility. And so want to opt for a Cobot? Well, as we said before, it's basically when it's not appealing a robotic cell. You need the space and you don't have any more space, or you don't want to change your process line. Then also when the investment is low, actually, because of the high costs. And another point when to opt for a collaborative robot is when you're starting to automate some tasks that right now are being done by a person, and you want to also gain experience in the robotics section. As I said before, if they have some software development knowledge and a bit of robotics, then it's easy for them to automate it by themselves, and you don't need an expert programmer, which is also another huge expensive resource. And then also cobots, most of them right now as the URE series, they have a force sensor on the wrist, so you don't need additional like tools or equipment or sensors. These robots are more sensitive to like touch, or you can program the force sensor to apply constant force. They can do some polishing, sanding. They're quite good at following curvature. Finally, we have the last point, which is education and learning. Cobots are very cost effective, and they're very good to like start automating and gain experience, like I said before, even for a company or even for like learning, like an institution like a university, STEM or STEAM centers where they teach kids engineering, science, and so on, and also workshops or research and development areas. Actually, when I was doing this video, I saw an article where they used an industrial robot and it crushed the child's finger. That is a bad use of an industrial robot. They should have been using like a collaborative robot, really. I don't know what they were thinking. But yeah, also try to use collaborative grippers. Don't think that even if you have like a collaborative robot, it's a collaborative application. As I said before, the gripper has also been like electrical better than pneumatic, and with a safety stop when they do more like a force than X amount. So basically a force sensitive gripper. That's what I meant. Anyway, and here are some like of the other companies that you might know if like you're into collaborative robots. For starters, the second most well known is Techman. They have a built-in vision system, easy to program. Their programming ideology is like flowcharts, and this is the camera for item detection, image enhancing, and barcodes. Easy to calibrate. Flowchart, as I said. And safety, you can touch the robot and it stops. And Omron made a deal with them, with Techman. So right now you can buy an Omron robot, which is a Techman series. And then additionally, the most well-known, industrial manufacturers also have cobots, such as AUBO. They started with the YuMi, and now later on they had the SWIFTI and GoFa. GoFa is the last one. You might be able to see some of these new robots in my exhibitions in Hanover and Munich, Automatica. They just released this new robot. And then we have the IIWA series in the KUKA, as you might have seen like in the video for the medical sector, the one that was doing a massage or like rehabilitation. Fanuc also had like the new CRX series, the collaborative robots CR. Before they were like this type, the green ones, which are basically industrial with a protective skin layer on the top. It's like silicone based or like rubber, but they're still hit you very hard. You have to set the sensor sensitivity very low, or unless you use a radar, like I said before, or the CRX, which is more collaborative. This is the new series, which is quick to install. These are the same advantages as any collaborative robot. Then drag and drop programming. It's also like a flowchart. It just goes from left to right, and you start building the blocks. You have manual guided teaching, which I forgot to mention as an advantage, and it's yeah, very reliable. And here, as you can see, yeah, it's a industrial robot, the green one with like safety skin, collision stop, and they have like higher payload. So that is one of the advantages of like maybe Fanuc. Like some people are looking always for an industrial robot and substitute them with a collaborative robot, but that's not the best case example for a collaborative robot. Then you may also know Yaskawa, formerly known as Motoman. They also have new collaborative robots, the HC30 for example, and HC20. Doosan is a Korean brand. They're starting also with these collaborative robots in the Western market. They look quite good, but like as I said, these first few, Universal, Techman, AUBO, KUKA, Fanuc, Yaskawa, Doosan, are more on the high end of the spectrum. They are more expensive than the others. And then we have a more affordable solution as Kassow Robotics. Oh, sorry, Kassow Robots. Then we have the Rethink. I'm not very familiar with them, but they used to be American. Now they, as you can see here, they meet German engineering. So they've been bought by the HAHN group. Haven't tried them. Cannot really say or don't even know the price range. And then we have the new Chinese collaborative robots. They have many brands, but most of the well-known is AUBO for their like affordable prices, and then JAKA also, and Dobot. We right now are starting to work with JAKA and Dobot. I think Dobot has a very good chance of succeeding because they start with the educational area, and they evolved into the industrial sector, and the magician robots have been a success everywhere. These lightweight cobots have been very used in like a lot of like STEAM education companies and research centers. And these new robots, the CR series collaborative, are very cost effective, very accessible, easy to integrate, and they have a very new good technology, which is this SafeSkin. It creates a magnetic field, and when your hand interferes with this magnetic field because of the induction, it stops before touching. So to summarize a bit, here we can see an enclosed robotic cell, and they are working without any human interaction at maximum speeds, how they should be designed. Here is another robotic cell that it's probably machining, lock and loading. Yeah, here we can see that it's doing some pick and place and doing some machining. Right now these tasks are also done with collaborative robots. But if you need high speed, which normally you don't need to because it's the machining part that takes longer. Here is another robotic cell. It's all enclosed. As you can see here, there's a door. You might be able to walk into the door and then the whole process will stop. And there's no human interaction. Here you can see the rotating table. And it's all automated, no person. Now, the advantages of collaborative robots, easy to program. Here we can see, let's play back faster. There's just a point here, point there, and play. Easy program. Repetitivity, that's most of the safety. You can stop it with your hand. You can enable the robot again. Force control, as I said before. And that's it. Another collaborative robot, this is Fanuc. The one before was universal. Lightweight, compact, okay. Quick to install, like we said before. Then you have plug and play grippers. Safe, because you can stop it with your hand. And You can do manual guidance like the other here. And what more do we have? Interesting hand guiding, and you can create and follow a path. So the robot follows the same path by itself. Another advantage of the collaborative robots. Here, collision detection. It won't squish your hand. If this had been an industrial robot without a force sensor, oh my god, your hand would have been destroyed. And look at the gears. Also, Dobot has this new technology that we were talking about, the SafeSkin. It's like pre-collision. Before even colliding, the robot stops, and it's soft silicon. So even if it hits you because it's going faster or you're probably faster than you should have, it shouldn't hurt that much. And then they have this new highlight function that it avoids if you're in his path, it avoids and keeps going on the path. So these are the new features that collaborative robots have. And yeah, as you can see, the Dobot uses Scratch easy programming. So it's like block function programming. And that's mainly it. Easy to program, easy to integrate, and it's cheaper. What more do you want? So I hope you like this video, and if you like this video, as always, please like and subscribe. If you have any doubts, questions, or suggestions, please leave a comment below. And as always, see you in the next video.